This on the table is a PC that has been completely pulled apart, and we're going to clean it up very soon, where in the PC Ultra Clean series, we turn trash into treasure. However, this one here is a very unique story in that the person who traded in, they did not want this thing at all. They said, it's giving out no signal, it's junk to me, can I just have a PC that works? And they messaged me on an office PC that I had up for sale. And typically my office PCs, they have an i3, they'll have no graphics card, 8GB of RAM, SSD, basically they're just there for browsing the web and doing things like Excel. And so when I saw that the motherboard inside this build was an X79, that is, the motherboard was pretty much worth more than the whole office PC, I decided to take the gamble. Now also included in this build is 32GB of DDR3 memory, a GTX 560, which to me is probably the worst part of the build, 2 hard drives, an SSD, a 120mm liquid cooler from Corsair, and this blue Martian themed Thermaltake case. Now all this stuff is very dirty, but the person said strictly that this PC did not work. So what I'm going to do is, before I spend all this time cleaning it up, I'm actually going to see which part is faulty so we don't have to clean that up like we did in a previous episode where I actually came into an X79 motherboard, but I ended up spending all this time cleaning it, where in the end, it unfortunately didn't end up working. However, that aside, let's find out what the problem is and take you guys through a journey from start to finish on what something is and what it can be. Let's get it on. Right off the sponsor spot.
Hey bro, are you tired of seeing this annoying activate Windows message? Then if so, today's video sponsor SCD Keys has you covered. For as little as $14 using the coupon code BFTYC, you can get activated today. Works for Windows 11 Pro too. Links in the description below.
So we've now just spent a heap of time with this X79 board, and you can see the one in the previous episode right here. I don't know what it is with these Rampage boards, but they're just not working in 2021. There must be something with this particular model of motherboard that just gives out after a certain time frame. And the difference here was that this one wouldn't give out a signal, and I tried a few different things. I tried a G-Skill memory. It did get past the initial boot code that it was giving out previously. And then after that, I tried to BIOS flashback it to refresh the BIOS, and that did not work either. So what we're going to do now is we're actually going to try the BIOS out of this board right here, the older one, and then put it in here and just see if that works. If not, we'll then try and just give it an ultrasonic clean anyhow. Well, at least the GTX 560 works.
So we've now cleaned this thing down thoroughly. The data vac, that's given it a great BJ. And it's still not working. The thing is I don't know. I mean, before it went into the ultrasonic cleaner, it just came out the same state as before it went in. And this is pretty much the exact same issue that happened with the previous Rampage board that we had in the other episode. So I don't know what it is, but like these boards are meant to be just ironclad. They're meant to be rock solid. They should not fail at all. But what we've got here is this is a second Rampage board that's just really finicky. There's something faulty on them that prevents them from booting and functioning properly. And I've tried different RAM slots, even tried a different BIOS, tried different CPUs, tried flashback. You go through the list. I have tried it with this thing. It just does not want to work. And so it's a little bit disappointing. It's a little bit disheartening because this is the main part of, like, when I saw this come in as a trade, I was like, yeah, the X79 Rampage board is the selling point. That's the one part that I really wanted to work, just like the last build that came in. And sure enough, I kind of got hosed on that first trade-in. This trade-in, I mean, at least we got a decent power supply. We've got, a Corsair water cooler, 32 gig of RAM. I was going to say a GTX 560, but I mean, it still works out okay. But it's just that main part that would make it a winning deal. It's not a winner. And so that's the most frustrating thing. This is what it's like. If you're dealing with used parts and you're hustling, you're going to come in to these bad streaks of luck. And I'm glad you guys get to see it on the channel. Like, I always just show the wins and the losses, but this is a big loss. And, what I want to do to this thing right now, I'm very frustrated. So I'm going to just have a sleep. It's pretty late anyway. I'm just going to go to bed. I'm going to wake up with a calm head and then just get back into it because we have to use a different motherboard and a CPU, but we'll keep it really budget because that's the whole point of this series is I want to keep doing things on a stricto budgeto. And the roller coaster ride of this PC is finally complete, and I've been testing it out in CSGO, but there's some pretty bad news, as you guys saw with that motherboard. I kind of had to calm down because 2 Rampage X79 boards in a row is not just the fact that I was unlucky and that both these boards didn't work, it's the fact that they're some of the best X79 boards that you can get. And the fact that 2 of them in a row, I just could not get them working no matter what I did. It's kind of, it's like, it just sucks. When you're into PC building, especially used stuff, you are going to come into just PCs that no matter what you do, they don't work. However, one thing I did learn out of this whole process was the fact that coupling a GTX 560 with an X79 motherboard should have been, at least it was a little bit suspect before I took the trade-in, but I should have definitely checked over the trade-in and looked out for a signal at least before it came in. Because what I think happened with this PC right here was they were using it because they had a pretty decent power supply. They had 32 gigabytes of RAM, i7, water cooler, and they probably had a graphics card, say maybe a GTX 1070 or 1080 Ti, and when the computer stopped working, they probably took the graphics card out, put something really low end in like a 560, and then just said, all right, let's get what we can for it because we don't know what's wrong. But there is some good news that's going to come out of this, and that is I've got 32 gigabytes of RAM,
I've also got a 1TB hard drive, 250GB SSD, a 900-watt power supply, and we got a Corsair 120mm water cooler. And you're probably like, well, Brian, you did have to put in components in place of that, and that's exactly what we did with this PC. However, I wanted to build around this GPU, which is the GTX 560, since graphics cards, you cannot let them go to waste at this point in time. And so having something like this, the GTX 560, I decided to use an i3 550, 8GB of RAM, an Office motherboard. It's just a HP first generation motherboard, and we've got a 500-watt Thermaltake power supply. And we then swapped the 250GB SSD for a 120GB SSD, and then also put in a 250GB hard drive just to balance out the whole system. And then we kept all the other components for a later build where we can put in a higher end GPU and match everything. So overall, all those parts that we put in ended up costing me $50, but if we couple this with a monitor, keyboard, and mouse, we can then have an entry-level gaming PC that, as you witness here, plays CSGO with smooth frame rates. We're getting around average 80 FPS, and the 1% lows are pretty decent. And then if we want to move over to Dota 2, League of Legends, and also Valorant, I found in the past when it plays CSGO with smooth FPS, it should play these other three titles absolutely fine as well. So I was pretty impressed with the balance of the i3 550 and the GTX 560. For instance, in CSGO, we've got it pretty much running at 100% on the CPU and then 100% on the GPU, and the temperatures are really good too. And I've just decided to record this while it's playing a game, and the noise is just really quiet. This PC, surprisingly, is doing a very good job remaining quiet. The temperatures are still good, and I'm happy in the end that we've got something that I've still managed to salvage, even though that motherboard was the most important piece of the build. When I saw it, I thought I was in for a treat. However, you guys know, if you've been into building used PCs, even building new PCs, you can come into situations that you can't do anything. That's just a faulty part. You just cannot do anything to bring it back. And that's what we've had here again. However, with PCs, it just gets to that stage where you'll just come into a lull of fails, and it can be frustrating, but you just calm down, get through it, and there'll be another day where you will get a big victory. And as you guys know, if you've been watching for a while, you'll know that I'll come into some massive wins from time to time. And it's always just like, it's just the jet coaster of PC building. You know, I got that 1070 Ti for 200 Aussie dollars, and then we come into this and the X79 board doesn't work. And you have your ups and downs, and just know if you do like a trade-in with a person does say something's wrong with the build, then do be prepared to deal with some problems. I just had a feeling that maybe the Rampage board was the part that would have worked, but of course I knew there was a possibility that that board couldn't work too, since no signal's no signal. Anyhow, guys, hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, be sure to hit that like button. Also, let us know in the comments section below, what do you think about our little budget build setup that we ended up coming out here with today. Love reading your thoughts and opinions as always, just like this question of the day here, which comes from Bukalex1, and they ask, what's GDP TDP? I'm bad at economics, sad face. I got kicked for being inactive, but GDP means gross domestic product, and it's basically the sum, it's a dollar value of all the products and services that are changed in dollar values in 1 year. So it's usually measured on an annual basis for that particular country. And so in the US, I believe it's around $20 trillion of gross domestic product per year. However, TDP is thermal design power, and that has nothing to do with economics. So hopefully that answers that question. If you guys have stayed this far and you're enjoying that Tech Yes content, be sure to hit that like button, ring that bell, and I'll catch you in another tech video very soon. Peace out for now. Bye.